Welcome back into the Integrative Health Simplified podcast. It's your host, Carrie, here, and we are on episode 4 in this series of simple swaps for your regular routine. And so today I want to tell you about maybe a surprising swap that I want you to consider, and that is switching up the way you get hydrated. So I titled this episode, You Want to Stay Dehydrated, Just Keep Drinking Plain Water. That might be surprising because in the holistic health and even really the health circuit, you always hear drink more water. You just need to drink more water. And so I do want to preface this by saying if you are drinking Cokes all day, plain water is going to be much better than that. Okay. But I'm talking to the group of people that do drink plain water all day and just try to get as much water in as possible. So let me just kind of give you a brief overview of how our body is hydrated. What is a main process in the way our body gets hydrated? So if we consume liquid like water, to actually hydrate our cells, it needs to enter our cells. Instead of saying extracellular, it needs to go intracellular. And so a main way that happens is for us to have electrolytes and different minerals. There are two key ones that are in the macro mineral family, and that is potassium and sodium. Both of these are really key to making sure that our body is actually hydrated by the things that we're consuming. And so that is super key in this whole hydration conversation, because if we are deficient in those minerals and electrolytes, then even if we're chugging all of this water, it's not really going to get inside our cells to actually hydrate them very efficiently. And I feel that's exactly what is happening to a lot of people that think they're doing amazing by drinking a gallon of water a day, or like their whole body weight in water a day or something such as that, because that's what we've been told, right? Again, this is better than drinking soft drinks. However, don't you want that water to be working for you? Aren't you drinking that water so that you stay hydrated? I feel like the answer is yes, but I know you can't answer me right now, so I'm just going to go on that fact. So I want to just introduce you to a different way of thinking in how to hydrate your body. So a simple swap for your regular routine could look a little bit different than drinking plain water. It could simply be swapping plain water for a couple of different things. So I'm just going to talk briefly about those and give you some ideas. So I mentioned that this whole hydration piece is really dependent on having those minerals and electrolytes so that the water actually gets inside your cell to hydrate it. So sodium and potassium are really key in this conversation. So if you are drinking plain water, a simple swap would be to just put a pinch of salt in your water. This can help replenish those salt stores that a lot of people are deficient in, because your adrenals, that are called on often when we're under stress to produce stress hormones and things like that, can often be on overdrive and are using a lot of our sodium and potassium stores for fuel. And so a lot of people, I would say 90% of people that I run hair tests on are actually deficient in both sodium and potassium. So it's never a bad idea to replace some of this sodium that our body is using. And this is only one process and way that our body uses sodium. There are so many others. Another key one is stomach acid production, which many are not producing enough stomach acid. And that can also, of course, show up in a lot of different ways that affects digestion. So a simple swap might be for you to just continue drinking the water that you're drinking. However, just put a pinch of salt in it. That would be a really simple swap for your regular routine. There are some other ideas that I have for you as well. So I know that you've heard of, electrolyte powders and different things like that. Some have a lot of extra added ingredients in them that probably are not great for your health. But that is one way that you can stay hydrated, is to include back some of these electrolytes, potassium being a main one. A lot of those powders have sodium in them as well. I use ReLyte, which is made by Redmond Real salt. That's a cleaner option. LMNT is another option that a lot of people use to just get some of those electrolytes back in your water. And I often get this question, like, how many glasses of water should we be putting things in? So if you're drinking just straight plain water all day, you might just want to start with, if you're drinking 8 cups a day, you might just want to start with 2 or 3 cups, adding salt in there, because the thing that can sometimes be tricky is if you are drinking a lot of plain water and then you just want to start putting a bunch of stuff in your water, sometimes that can throw off your balance of minerals kind of too quickly. And so I would encourage you to start slow on this, as with any change that you make, really, is to just give your body a chance to actually absorb those nutrients, those minerals and electrolytes, and increase over time your levels of sodium and potassium and other minerals and things like that. So slower is better. So don't feel like you have to go full force with this or anything else, really. So that's another idea for you. Coconut water is another thing that you could add into the rotation of what you drink. That's kind of where I want you to go with this. Instead of drinking plain water all day, let's think about other mineral, nutrient-rich beverages that we could drink to help hydrate us. Even though we think that water is the absolute best thing to hydrate, I'm not saying that it's terrible. However, we're trying to think about replacing some of these vital minerals and electrolytes that a lot of us are missing. So coconut water is a great thing to add in your rotation. I'm a big fan of adrenal cocktails. Adrenal cocktail, if you've never heard of it, it's just a little mocktail. It doesn't have any alcohol in it. I know it has the word cocktail, but no alcohol in it. In the standard version of an adrenal cocktail is simply orange juice, coconut water, and a pinch of salt. It is put in that that mixture is put together so that it can replace sodium from the salt, potassium from the coconut water, and the vitamin C gives you some, the orange juice gives you some whole food vitamin C that helps support your adrenals, which oftentimes are run down. Excuse me. So that is a great one that you could, again, add into the rotation. Many people start out with 1 adrenal cocktail a day, and then they move quickly to 2. That it's a great way to hydrate you. Truly, it is. I think we oftentimes think of bulk amounts, like bulk. We think we need to drink all this water to stay hydrated. However, if your body is retaining the hydration that you take in, you don't need nearly as much as you might think. And so I hear this all the time. I just can't get enough water in. Or if I do get enough water in, I'm constantly in the bathroom. That's a really good sign that the hydration that you're taking in is just running right through you. So it's not really doing you as much good as you think it is anyway. So I want you to think of quality hydration beverages over the amount of those beverages that you drink. I think that you'll see, even if you just add a pinch of salt, or if you maybe add in coconut water to what you're drinking, or maybe you do an adrenal cocktail, you'll start to see that you are retaining some of this and you do feel more hydrated by even drinking less of the liquids in general. So that is a great swap for your regular routine, just to think about how you can add in more mineral-rich beverages to your daily rotation. So I'm going to have a whole blog post on this as well to give you some of my favorite mineral-rich hydrating beverages. So you want to check that out. I will put that link in the show notes of this podcast. And if you're watching the YouTube version of this, I'll put that in the description of this video as well. But one thing before I hop off, I want to give you another thing that you could consider to put in your rotation. This is also going to be in some of the recipes. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little rundown of what this is. So you often hear me talking about bumble root powder. And bumble root powder is simply a dried coconut-based powder that is great for hydration. You can simply add this to regular water, or you could try my favorite hack is adding it to sparkling water. Just gives you, it makes you feel like you're drinking something special. because I'd often hear also that people don't like to drink plain water. Now, some people do, but a lot of people don't. So I'm giving you these great, cool little hacks so that you don't have to feel like you need to drink plain water all day, and yet you're still getting hydrated. So bumbleroot powder is just a great way to get a lot of potassium in. It has about 3 times the amount of potassium as coconut water, just because it's in a little bit more of a concentrated version. They make different flavors. It's just really tasty. So I'm going to add a special little code for you guys to use if you want to try some bumbleroot powder. And that will be, again, in the show notes or in the YouTube description as well. But thanks for tuning into this episode. I hope that you make this simple swap and just thinking about how you hydrate in a little bit of a different way. And I'll see you on the next episode.